That's
That's
never
the,
what you want.
yeah, exactly. That's the sort of daft stuff I do sometimes.
Yeah. To be fair, I do the same thing as well. I'm always so forgetful with everything.
What's been going on? What have you been up to? Are you working today or?
Just working, yeah. So I work from home today, which is all right, but it's just been a bit hectic at the moment. Like it's kind of like our busy period, and then we've also got other things on as well, and then loads of people are away, so it's just been like even more hectic than usual. So it's been a bit wild, but it's kind of calming down a bit now, which is good.
Or always a perfect storm of all those things happening at the same time.
Exactly, exactly.
What is it you do, Nikki?
I do investment consulting, so I'm in finance.
Investment consulting.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Because right, uh, just from a little bit of like background stuff, I've not
yeah.
like just looked at little bits and bobs. You've not always done that, have you?
No, I PT'd for 3 years. So I
Okay.
kind of like left uni, didn't know what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then I was always into like fitness and I'd like started working front desk at like it was a bar fitness place when I was at uni. And like I remember
Okay.
speaking to the instructors there and they were like, oh, why don't you just do like PT qualifications? So I was like, you know what, why don't I? And then I did that, planned to do that for like 6 months. Then COVID hit and because I was planning to like do it for like 6 months, then go travel
Yeah.
and then kind of see what I wanted to do.
Okay.
But then COVID hit, so I couldn't travel. And then it ended up being 3 years PTing. And then I moved into finance.
I presume that's what you did at uni.
No, no.
Not. All right.
But I did,
Okay.
I did like, it's called liberal arts. So I majored in politics, minored
Right.
in philosophy, and then I did a few like different things. I did a few like economicsy modules though. So
Right.
kind of financy.
I was gonna say like how did you end up doing that and then PT and then the financy stuff? Like how did that kind of
It was a bit random. So both my parents are accountants.
right,
So
okay.
that kind of
Makes a
like,
little more sense.
yeah, a bit more sense. But I knew I didn't really want to do accountancy because I was a bit like,
Okay.
that's a little bit boring, really. And I say that and I'm an investment consultant, but it's a bit more exciting. So I did like I ended up because I wanted to do marketing at one point, but
Right,
then
okay.
I had a look into that and
Yeah.
I realized I'm not very creative. So I was like, probably not the best. And
You should
then
know your
like
strengths and weaknesses though.
exactly, exactly.
Yeah.
Learned it and realized that's not the best path for me. But I'm good at maths and numbers. And then I did like some courses online, like to do with
Okay.
finance and stuff, just like a brief one. I was like, actually, I find this interesting. And then here I am now.
There you are. There you are
Yeah.
now. So, I guess I just want to kind of dig into, who you are a little bit.
Yeah.
What's your background with training? What does training look like now?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah.
So let's go back a little bit further and like chat about, where did your kind of training journey start? Like, have you always been sporty? Like, yeah.
Yeah. So, God, where to start? I've always been like sporty. So
Okay.
basically grew up just doing team sports. Pretty much every sport there is, I've tried and done. So I played hockey a lot, did that, did
Right.
netball at school as well, did a lot of athletics, played football for a bit. I did a little bit of gymnastics, but then from the gymnastics, I then moved on to cheerleading. So I
Right.
did
Okay.
that competitively. So hockey and cheerleading were probably my main sports that I did.
Yeah.
So that kind of gymnastics background definitely helps with the handstandy stuff and in
Of
CrossFit.
course. Just
Um,
on the cheerleading.
yeah,
So I've obviously no clue about this.
yeah.
How is it scored? Like, is it a bit like in gymnastics where, yeah, how's
Yeah,
that scored?
kind of. It's a bit like gymnastics and dance. So there are different sections on the
Yeah.
score sheet, I think. I've not done it for like, God, probably 10 years now. So I'm trying to like remember what it was like. But you get like difficulty scores, technique scores, like execution. You'd
Yeah.
lose points if, say, like a stunt fell or if people tripped on their tumbling.
Right. Okay.
You got points for just the choreography in general as well, like how good the routine was visually and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's a bit like dance and gymnastics mixed together, really.
Yeah. That makes sense. From that.
Yeah.
were you the person that like got thrown up in the air or like
I
High
was
School
well,
Musical, that sort of vibe? What?
a little bit. So there was no pom poms, so
Right.
not that kind of cheerleading. So it was more the like competitive side of it. But I was the one. I did a bit of everything, but I was mainly the one that got thrown in the air.
Okay.
So I've had a few times where I like got threw up,
Yeah.
did my twist or whatever, and then kind of like didn't get caught properly. So I like landed on my head one time and had to like rush to hospital. So there have been a few ups and downs, but it was all good fun.
Yeah, it does. I mean, that does sound fun to be fair. Minus,
Yeah,
like they say, a few trips to the hospital, I'm sure it
yeah,
was.
yeah,
So what, like from there, what was kind of next? So a lot of cheerleading, a lot of team sports.
yeah. A lot of that. So I'm trying to think back. When did I stop cheerleading? I stopped cheerleading when I was like 16.
Right, okay.
So
Yeah.
I was just doing my A levels at that point because I was like traveling to Leeds from Manchester like every weekend or so for training.
Right, okay. Is
Um,
that where you were originally from, Manchester?
yeah, yeah. Well, like
Oh, yeah.
South Manchester, so like Bramall, kind of
Yeah, of
Stockport, the
course.
area. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Right.
don't really think I
Okay.
sound like it though.
No, you don't. You don't, to be fair.
But,
But it's more you're more the Cheshire. It's more like Cheshire. It's almost
yeah,
like
a
Cheshire,
bit
isn't it?
more
Really.
Cheshire area.
I feel like people from Cheshire don't really have a distinct accent.
No, I do think like my northern accent comes out sometimes. Whenever I go home, I'll pick
Yes.
up a few more. But then like as soon as I spend, because I'm in London at the moment, so like
Mhm.
as soon as I spend any like long amount of time here, I just suddenly go really southern. I always notice it when I start saying things like glass, and I'm like, oh no, what's happening?
Remember your roots.
Yeah, exactly. Right, what were
Yeah, Manchester to Leeds, you were
okay,
going back
Manchester
and
City.
forward a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I was doing that every weekend, which just got a bit too much when I was doing like A levels and stuff. So I had to kind of stop that.
Yeah.
And then I ended up kind of doing a bit of like random training, kind of bits of rock climbing and stuff. So
Okay.
the TV show Ninja Warrior.
Yes.
I'd seen that and I decided that I wanted to do that. So I started training for that. So it was kind of like a mixture of like did some rock climbing, like
Yeah.
mini bits of like parkour kind of stuff, but not like properly, but like just little bits.
Because is there a Ninja Warrior gym in Trafford Park?
There is now, yeah.
There is now. Okay, so
Yeah.
where were you going to be doing this stuff?
But I was just doing this kind of like I'd go to like open gym gymnastics sessions and there were loads of people there that seemed to be like free runners and stuff. So they'd just set up like courses and you just
Yeah.
jump over boxes and stuff like that. Um, but yeah, and then other than that, you kind of like training monkey bars at like the park or something like that. Which you look back at it, like seems so silly.
See with that person in the park doing the monkey bars, and you're like, isn't she like, I don't know, 20 years older? Probably not 20
Yeah,
years older
she's
at that
an
point, but
adult,
yeah.
she should be here. But
I
yeah, I
mean,
did that.
so the other thing I wanted to ask there is, uh, was that just like free play? Like, or were you coached through doing that stuff?
Mostly just kind of like free play, but then there were
Okay.
people there who would coach you through bits. But it was
Yeah.
kind of like trial and error. Again, quite a few like falling over and getting a few like minor injuries
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a bit random, but it was quite good and it was just good fun. It's kind of like bringing the fun back to training and stuff
Yeah, of
like that.
course. Yeah, I mean, in some ways, maybe as functional as you can get if you're trying to run away from someone and, do you know what I mean, climb over
Yeah,
fences. I don't know. Yeah.
true. Maybe this is what functional fitness is missing out on.
So, yeah, how long from starting doing that to going on Ninja Warrior was it?
It was probably like a year. So
A
I kind of
year. So
started
it's
it.
pretty quick.
Yeah. Yeah, it's quite quick. It was quite a quick turnaround. But yeah, I kind of seen it like I'd seen like Ninja Warrior and Takeshi's Castle and stuff growing up and thought that'd be fun. And then it came to the UK, and then I remember seeing it and being like, oh, I want to apply. But when I'd
Right.
first seen it, I was like 17, I think, and you had to
Okay.
be 18. So then I trained for like a year of
Yeah.
that stuff, um, and then went on the show. Managed to get on. Not everyone did, but I think they were like an 18-year-old girl. Let's get her on.
I feel like it's pretty spontaneous, that really, though. Just to be like, do you know what? Really want to do Ninja Warrior, and I'm gonna train for it. I feel like spontaneous, but also like to have the discipline to then be like, right, I'm gonna actually train to do this. So
Yeah,
yeah, quite
I think it was also a thing though where the like gymnastics, cheerleading kind of background
yeah.
helps with it because it's just having that
Okay.
like bodily awareness
Yes.
and
Yeah.
also being quite young as well. I didn't really have any fear, so would just throw myself from bar to bar and stuff like that.
So then did that progress to from there? So you go on Ninja Warrior. How did you get
Yeah.
on first of all?
So I got to the semi-final on it.
Okay.
So I ended up, so I did it 3 times. That was the first time. Then I did it 2 years later, didn't do quite as well. And then they stopped it. And then I did it again. I was 18, then 20, and then 24. So they brought it back for like another series. And in
Right.
that one, I got to the final. But
Okay.
I kind of hadn't really been doing much training for it then.
Right.
So it's kind of like I did specific bits at the start, and then I
Yeah.
kind of like just moved on to doing more standard training. So I did a lot of strength and conditioning whilst at uni because I was on the hockey team.
Right.
Um, and then kind of like moved into a bit more bodybuildery kind of fitness,
Yeah.
and then moved into CrossFit. And then yeah, a bit of like a long-winded journey.
But it's just interesting to know, like, a bit about your background because it usually shows a lot in what you like now with your training and, the patterns that kind of appear and like what sort of maybe competition you tend to lean into maybe as well. So yeah, it's just interesting, really interesting to know.
Yeah.
Uh, what how did the kind of was it through hockey that you decided that the gym you would start doing strength and conditioning and that sort of training, and then I guess how did you find CrossFit off the
Yeah,
back
I
of?
think it was kind of through hockey I started doing like strength and conditioning.
Hmm.
And then through that, I started doing my own kind of like gym training. But it was quite like basic, like kind of bodybuildery things with a bit of like hit workouts as well.
Okay.
Um, so that was kind of through uni, and then like did my PT course, did
Yeah.
that, and I just started to feel like I was getting bored doing your more like standard bodybuilding fitness. I missed the like competitive side of it.
Yeah. I get what you
Yeah.
mean. I get
And
what
then like
I feel like as well from the journey you've been describing so far, I can't imagine just like a standard bodybuilding routine would kind of
no,
suit.
no, I need to be like having a bit of like danger in there or something like that.
So
Yeah.
what
So
so who did you how did you kind of stumble on it? What
it was actually I think it was during lockdown. I was like just going through all the like Netflix documentaries and I watched
course.
the like CrossFit Games ones, like the
Yeah.
Dubai Games ones, and I watched it and I was like, now that looks fun. I was like, I could get behind that. So I was like, I think it was when the like gyms opened up again in like 2021. It was
Yeah.
after that lockdown.
Uh-huh.
I like had found one near me, which was Train in Heald Green.
Course.
Um,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
and so I was just like, you know what, I might as well let's give it a go. So I did that, did like a taster session. I was like, this is it, this is the one for me, and
Right.
kind of like started then. But then I was kind of like in and out, like didn't really go in too much. We're just gonna do it like on and
Okay.
off for a little bit, and then kind
Yeah.
of like I got with a coach at one point in like the start of 2022. Did
Okay.
that for kind of like 9 months, then moved to London, and I was more like just go to a box and kind of like train.
Yes.
Yeah, and then kind of like was more into it then.
Whereabouts in London were you at that point? What gym were you going to then as
So
well?
I was going to CrossFit Putney. So I moved to London and lived in Putney, and I
Yeah.
actually lived like next door to CrossFit Putney.
Ideal.
Yeah, so that was really handy. So just go at like lunchtime when I was on like a lunch break from work. I was like, right, let's go to the gym for an hour. Perfect.
And then
Um,
predominantly just kind of doing the classes and all that sort of stuff, really.
Mostly. So I'd probably do like 3 classes a week and then a few
Mhm.
like open gyms as well. So training like 5 times a week or so.
Yeah.
So that was always good fun and just got like a nice community there as well, which was nice.
Where are you? I'm guessing you're still in London now, like you said before, actually. Are you still in Putney or where you based
No, so
now?
kind of like the nature of London renting, you move around quite a bit.
I can
Um,
imagine. Yeah.
so yeah, after a year, like my contract for where I was living like ran out, and I moved
Yeah.
in with some other friends, which was in like from Putney to Balham,
Right.
and obviously I had it very easily being next door to the gym, and then like moving to Balham, it's just they're not far away. If you looked on a map, you'd be like, oh, they'd be quite close. But transport links from Putney to Balham, it's just
Not good.
no. So it would take me like 45, 50 minutes to get there.
Right.
And then
Okay.
like if I'm going before work, it's then another like 50 minutes to
Of
get to
course,
the
it's a
office.
long time that. Yeah, it is,
Yeah.
isn't it? Yeah.
So ended up leaving there and started training at Gymbox, which is just like a kind of commercial gym. And
It's
that's
a
when
lot more functional fitnessy than like a gym
yeah,
group of
and a
your
pure
team.
gym kind of thing.
Of
Yeah.
course.
And
Yeah.
stuff. So it's much more suited to like CrossFit training. And that's when I started on the JST Athlete program.
Okay.
Because I thought I need a program to follow, not training at a box. Let's do this. So
Yeah.
yeah.
What? So I guess why did you decide GST? Like, because I think still got a few people who train at Train.
Yeah.
So was it through them that you kind of knew us, or I don't know? Yeah. How did you?
I think it was actually, I think I first heard of JC through someone at Train who was doing the program. I think she might have done one of the more like bespoke programs.
Yeah.
But I remember she would always like tag JC compete in Instagram. So that's how I like first like
Came
heard
across
of
this.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I always kind of had it in mind, and I got to the point where I was like, well, I need to do like a program. Had a little look around. I was like, this one looks like the best one. Looks like it's going to be best suited to me. Whereas I can kind of like choose a different pathway to focus on.
Yeah.
I just thought it looked great, and then did the trial week, and I was like, yeah, let's do it.
I'm in. I'm in. And at this point, so where were you kind of at? So did you have most of the skills down? You know, was there still some you were kind of working towards? Like, because I presume a few people out there would maybe be like, been mainly doing classes. Like, when do I know if I'm ready to take this kind of leap to maybe, going on GST Athlete? Yeah. So where were
Yeah,
you
so
at?
I just got my like first bar muscle up kind of like the
Okay.
month before. So I
Okay.
had like butterfly pull-ups, had all the
Yeah.
handstand stuff because just the cheerleading gymnastics background, handstands have always been like that's been quite easy for me because I've just been doing it for ages. But
Yeah.
like
I've seen your handstands. You can hold a handstand for a long time.
yeah, yeah. That does help out quite a bit. But I didn't have like consistent muscle ups, didn't have ring muscle ups, no strict handstand press ups,
Okay.
couldn't do chest to bar butterfly pull ups as well.
Okay.
So kind of had a few of the skills, but not all of them. And
Yeah.
the ones that I had, I needed to like work on just being a bit more consistent and having more capacity with them as well.
Yeah.
So that's kind of my starting point. Yeah.
Ah, okay. That's good to know as well. So, kind of from there, like, had you done any competitions at that point? So, what was like the reason for doing like jumping on GST Athlete? Was it like, right, I want to be a bit more competitive and do this, or I just want to kind of get the skills down? What was your
I
vibe at
think
that point?
I'd done quite well. I'd done a few competitions by that point because I think I did my first one 2023
Yeah.
February. I did like Rainhill. I did the individual one then. That
Yeah.
was my first ever competition. And then it was September 2023 that I started the program.
Yes.
And I'd done a few kind of like competitions in the summer where it was team ones. It was quite often the case that like I'd fill in for people last minute, like a couple of
Okay.
weeks before. They'd be like, "Nikki, can you jump in?" I'd be like, "Yeah, super sub, of course." So I kind of ended up doing quite a few competitions in the summer,
Yeah.
but I haven't really done many that competitively or like had focused on them much, which I kind of started to think, well, I want to do this more. I find these really fun. I
Yeah.
want to get a bit more competitive. I want to get the skills so that I can like start competing RX. And so I started the program and I've been doing more competitions as well.
So what have you done in the last 12 to 18 months since you've been with us competition wise? What, yeah.
So I think, well, the first one I did ethics and like did the finals. That
Okay.
was in like the first year. Did it with my friend. And we ended up winning it, which was quite good fun. It was the open one, not the pro one, but we had still a win to
Still,
win.
fair enough.
um, and then I did Rainhill again, like a year later, and
Yeah.
ended up being fourth, which was like after 6 months in the program.
Okay.
Um, so
Where were you the year before? Like, were you in the same category, just lower down, different
I was in the
category?
same category, but I think I finished like 22nd or something like that.
Oh, wow.
But
Okay.
then I went up to fourth, so that was quite a good jump.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then I've done a few others. So I've done Mayhem last year. So in May, the Battle for Middle Ground one, did it pairs RX, and we came
Yeah.
third, which was good fun, and that was
Another
good.
podium. Okay.
Yeah, and then I've done a few others like small, kind of more local ones, and like turf games and stuff like that.
Yeah. Of
I also did Sid Triple Threat with two other girls on
course.
the
Alanis and
JST
Cassia.
program. Yeah,
Yeah.
so
Was that a last minute step in or was that sorted from the beginning?
that was sorted. I think we sorted it out in around October because I think you put
Okay.
a post on Circle like, does anyone want to do it but doesn't have a team? Like, did a poll and like we
Yeah.
all of us ticked it and you put us together and it was great. It was so much fun.
Good.
Like we got on really well, and I'm now doing March Mayhem with one of those girls as well.
Okay. Great
So
stuff.
it's really worked out. Success story.
It was funny actually. I read there was a little BBC article today saying oh the death of like dating apps and all this sort of stuff, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh well, we've managed to hook up two people and they've got engaged. I wonder what else we can do here.
Maybe this is the thing. The new dating app is just JC Compete.
So you're doing March Mayhem again. You
Yes.
got in a couple of weeks. Okay.
Yeah.
How
Got that.
how's prep for that going?
It's going good. So I've switched from just kind of the overall JC Athlete program to the
Yeah.
compete track.
Okay.
So that's been good fun. I ended up
Yeah.
being really sick a few weeks ago, which wasn't so good, but I was like, great, just as we're starting this.
Yeah. Just in case.
Um,
Always the
yeah,
time of year though.
yeah, it is. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's doing well. So just train to that a bit more. And it's nice to see like my gymnastics capacity has gone up so much and doing that under fatigue as well. Like just I think it was this time last year I couldn't do chest to bar butterflies, or I could string together like three,
Couple,
and
yeah.
now I can do like sets of 12 unbroken in a workout quite easily, which like
It's
I'm
really
there like great. I mean, still a long way to go, but it's a lot better than it was before, which is really nice to see the progress as well.
That's good. I guess from like all the competitions that you've done over the last, couple of years, are there any like particularly stand out for any reason? Just if anyone, is thinking about that they might do XYZ competition this year or not sure which one to do. Yeah,
Yeah,
what kind of sticks out? What stuck out to you?
I would always say, maybe for like a first people who are new to competing, I'll
Yeah,
always say Rainhill is a great competition. Like,
agreed.
just so well organized. It
Mhm.
caters to all availabilities, all abilities. That's the one.
Ability,
Like, what's the word?
availabilities too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it caters to everyone. So they do the way they do the seedings as well. I just think it works really well, and I always enjoy those competitions.
Yeah,
So especially if you're like newer to competitions, I'd say those ones are great.
agreed.
Um,
Agreed. Like you say, we've been able to kind of like rank everyone in some way, shape, or form. You know you're going to go in against people who are,
yeah,
similar
yeah,
level to you.
exactly. And then I have also found the like battle for middle ground ones, and then like the SID ones are obviously very well organized as well. And
Yeah,
I've enjoyed those ones because like Sid Triple Threat has a few like higher skill things, like the ramp was in there, heavy double unders. So I think that was really fun for like just doing things that I'd never
haven't done
seen or
before.
like experienced before.
Yeah.
So
Could you
they
do it?
I struggled. The
Okay.
ramp I was so close to doing, but like I
Right.
managed to get up to the top, and then like just my arms had gone because it was like at the end of the workout as well. So just like tumbled forward, rolled down or something.
I can't
Um,
imagine Gymbox would have a ramp to be practicing with either.
No, no, it's not really one of their things. I don't think that many people would be on it. I always like have a lot of people like looking at me whenever I get out the ab mats to do like handstand push-ups and like freestanding ones. They're like, what are you doing?
Is there not many people that like dabble in doing a bit of CrossFit in there?
There are quite a lot, but still like a lot of people
I know what you mean.
don't as well. Like there's
Yeah,
still a
of
lot of people that are kind of doing more bodybuilding
course.
exercises. But then there are a lot of CrossFitters there, which is quite nice too.
Okay. Because so I go to like a commercial gym that's like 5 minutes up the road, and it is just a commercial gym. So
Yeah.
I just get looked at like I'm an alien. I'm doing
Yeah.
bar muscle ups or whatever else. It's like I actually don't care, but everyone else
Yeah.
is just like,
Exactly.
do you know what? Loads of old men always come up to me and they're like, oh, like, yeah, it's so good to be able to do that. How do you manage to do all that? And it's always old men
Oh,
that
really?
I don't know why.
That's,
They're just like, I can just see you so focused when you're training all this sort of stuff. And I'm like, do I take this as a compliment? And like, I don't really
I
know,
think
but
it's a compliment. Take it as a compliment.
but yeah, just funny how it's always old men. So there you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, um, so with this kind of March Mayhem, what like have you got any goals for it? What's kind of the plan for it, or is it just like turn up and I don't know, see how we go? Because I presume is it Alanis that you're doing it with?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I can't imagine you being in London, she's up north. You've managed to get in many team sessions.
No, no. So we can't really train together,
Okay.
which makes it a little bit more difficult. But we
Mhm.
hadn't trained together before Sid Triple Threat, which we did with together and with Cassia.
Yeah,
Um, and then we kind of like were just doing practicing synchro in the warm up. And we're like, oh, we're actually really quite synchronized, aren't we?
that's really
So
that's super handy.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
works out quite well. So we've not really kind of like discussed yet our plans, but
Okay.
just kind of like I think we're both following the more like compete track as well.
Yeah.
So
It just helps with that.
um,
Yeah.
yeah, focusing on more kind of like competitive style workouts, which is always good fun, get the heart
Yeah.
rate going.
Is there anyone back? Is there anyone in Gymbox that you can do any of those bits with, or any gym close by, or not?
Yeah, so my boyfriend's at one of the boxes in London as well sometimes, so
Okay.
like that's quite good fun as well.
Yeah.
Doing a partner workout as well and getting someone there to keep me going,
Yeah.
really.
Do you
Um,
prefer individual or team comps, or not too fussed
I'm
that?
not too sure. I've only done two individual ones
Right.
so
Okay.
far. Um,
Both of which were Rainhill,
yeah,
correct?
both Rainhill.
Yeah.
I'm actually doing a third one at the end of March as well, another
Okay.
Rainhill. But yeah, so I need to start doing individual other ones as
Yeah.
well.
Of
Um, but yeah, I do like the team ones because it's just a bit more fun having other people around during the day, I think. And
course.
it is good to have other people to kind of like egg you on a little bit more
Yeah.
or like just to show that you can keep going a little bit faster whereas on your own you can sometimes get in your own head a little bit. But then I also think the individual ones are great for like really seeing where you're at as well, so I like them both. I don't know if I have a preference.
What when you're doing individual comps,
Mhm.
um, do you tend to get, I don't know, pretty nervous, pretty anxious, or do you feel like you're quite good at dealing with it?
I'd say I'm actually quite good at dealing with it.
Okay.
I think things I usually get more anxious about are where you have more time to think about it. So it's like a lift event when
Yeah,
things can go wrong and you can't really fix it as easily as whereas like in the middle of a workout, you don't have time to think
I know
overthink
what you
it.
mean.
And like if you mess up a little bit on one point, you can bring it back as well.
Yeah, I get what you mean. Okay.
So I think those ones I kind of go into a little bit calmer, being like, it's fine, like just try and stick to a game plan. But then the lift, I'm a bit more like shaky and nervous about it.
Do you think, because would you say strength's more your weakness, or what would you say your weaker area is?
So the last like year or so, I've been focusing more on like gymnastics
Okay.
skills
Yeah.
and strength building a bit more.
Yeah.
So I used to think my engine was probably a bit of a stronger point of mine,
Yeah.
whereas now I think it's kind of
Is it
flipped around a little bit
all right?
more.
Okay.
I've been focusing on the other stuff.
Yeah.
So now I'm trying to like have a bit more of a focus on my conditioning, kind of get that a little bit better, especially the ergs. Ergs are my weaknesses, I'd say.
Right.
Running, I'm fine with, but
Yeah.
like the ergs, they're just the thing I need to like work on more.
Yeah.
Um,
It's
whereas I
always
think,
it's always that continuous like balance and juggle, isn't it? Where like you
yeah,
focus on this and then this comes up, but then this kind of maybe stays the same, or and then you've
yeah,
got to bring that up, and then it's like, well, I know exactly what you mean. It's just a
yeah,
continuous juggle of all the different
yeah, trying
things.
to figure out what to focus on and like where your proper weaknesses are as well. Because I think my strength numbers have definitely gotten a lot better
Okay.
in the last like 18 months,
Yeah.
which has just been like the program, like following it, being consistent.
Yeah.
Like, so that's got a lot better.
So there's two things off the back of that. Um, One,
Mhm.
how do you not get overwhelmed? So a lot of people will be like, right, well, I've got all these things to try and work on. How do you kind of keep your focus and not kind of worry too much, or do you worry?
I think I do worry a
You
bit.
do worry. Okay.
I do tend to get overwhelmed by things quite a bit. Not
Yeah.
necessarily just training, but like more just all life in general, kind of
Okay.
coming together a bit like, what do I do?
Yeah.
But I think training wise, I think even just having the program there helps me to not
Yeah.
be overwhelmed as much. I'm like, you just look at it, just do that, do what it says. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm trying to think about how I don't
I
get
mean,
too
because
overwhelmed.
the other
I
thing
think
off the
at
back
the
of that,
moment,
go on,
oh, you go.
you go.
No, you go first. You go first.
Because the
Oh,
other thing I was going to say is like
oh wait, have I
you're
lost connection
obviously
a bit?
you're quite good at you must be pretty good at staying consistent as well, like actually sticking to, what is in the program and just kind of getting on with it as well, really, which is I also think a lot of people struggle to do that as well. Um, I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I think
I've not really got a question off the
I think
back of
it's
that. It
probably
was
just
just more
it's
of a
part of my, yeah. I think it's kind of like it's just part of my routine now going into training. Like
yeah,
I'll go before work and I'm like, if I and although like I'm getting up at 5 and it's hard to do it and stuff, go to train before working. I feel like if I don't do it or I have a week where I don't do it, I'm like my mind starts to go a bit weird. So it's kind of
okay.
like I can just get it done because I'm like it helps me
Yeah.
in the long run. And like with everything else, it kind of helps me stop being it helps to stop me being overwhelmed because it clears my mind in a way.
Yeah, I get that. That makes sense. That makes sense. Is that what time you train at as well? 5 a.m. every day?
Well, I get up at 5 to 5:30 and train before, but like when I go to the gym by my office, I
Mhm.
have like a 40-minute commute there, so probably end up training like 6:45 to 8 or 8:15 ish.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's pretty disciplined to be doing that as well.
Yeah, but then if I leave it to the end of the day, I
Y-
just will end up being like, I don't want to do
Okay. Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Because like you say, you don't know what, I guess for a lot of people, it's like you don't know what's going to happen in your day, and it could just wipe you out. And like you say, by the time
Yeah,
you come to the end of the day, yeah.
yeah. And there are
Definitely.
some times where like I'll have to work late and then it gets to 8 o'clock and I'm like, oh, I just want to be at home having dinner and go to bed.
What's the plan after? So you've got March Mayhem, then you've got Rainhill. What's
Yeah.
the plan for the rest of the year? Have you got anything else kind of in the
I haven't
books?
really looked that far ahead yet, but
Okay.
um I'm having to think about like what kind of like qualifiers I'd want to do because I think like Marbella champs always looks like a good one.
I
So I
was going to
think of
mention
like
Marbella then. Yeah.
yeah, so I was like that's
Okay.
kind of like in my mind, but I haven't like decided anything yet.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that's definitely in my head.
Team or
So
individual?
maybe individual
Okay.
because team I have to find teammates as well.
Won't be that hard to do. I'll tag a few people. I'll hook you up.
Yeah, yeah, that could work.
So a bit Marbella, because have you done a competition abroad yet?
No, I haven't. So
No. Okay.
that is just like a good excuse to get away for a bit. It always looks really fun when I've seen it like on Instagram and stuff. So I think that one would be a
I,
good one to do.
I think with the combination of like the Colosseum that they have looks really, really cool.
Yeah.
And then they tend to do a run or a swim, don't they? You know,
Yeah.
which again, you're definitely not going to get to do in the UK unless you go
No.
Tribal Clash.
Yeah, which I did do this year, and I think I'm doing it next year as well. And that is good fun. Although, like, it's not so fun when you're swimming and then the next heat they cancel the swim because it's gotten too dangerous, and I've just been getting hit by waves as I'm swimming.
Where was it? Where is it this year? Like, where was
It's
it?
in Devon,
Oh,
so it's Blackpool Sands Beach. Um, but yeah, it was really fun. Like, it's just something completely different
of course.
being on a beach competing. So yeah.
Is it every single workout on the beach as well?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, right.
Well,
Okay.
it started off with a run, which
Yeah.
started on the beach. And then it's kind of where the beach is, it's like just almost in like a cove kind of area. So there are
Right.
like big hills. So the run would then go up the hills and like go down and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. I've never I've run on sand, and what I can say about running on sand is I'm not very good at it. It's
It's
really
a struggle.
hard.
It's tough. It's really hard. You like
It's
do a
just
step and you're like, I've not gotten anywhere.
we were doing a lot of it in 2017 when we
Yeah.
were on the team doing for the games and stuff. Uh, and I was just watching the rest of the team just go like that, and I'm like, what am I doing differently here? Like I'm trying to move my feet really
Yeah.
fast, but I'm just
But they're just not moving. Oh
um,
gosh.
so I think what after you've kind of done these competitions as well, uh, is it the case where you'll probably I don't know, will you switch up how you train, or are you gonna just keep kind of chugging away, focusing on, kind of all round game? What do you think?
Yeah. I think I might kind of keep it kind of focusing on all round, but like there are still a few skills that are like ring muscle ups I can just about do, but working on them a bit more and
Okay.
like want to start being able to get them into workouts and like strict handstand press ups as well. So we kind of like maybe have a bit more focus on those kind of
Yeah.
weaker areas, but
Yeah.
then try and keep everything going at once as well.
Okay. Where you at with the ring muscle ups and the handstand push ups now? What's kind of the limiting factor for you?
Um, ring muscle ups, I find like my technique comes and goes
Okay.
with it. Like some days it'll be good and I'll be hitting them like relatively consistently, and then other
Yeah.
days I won't be able to get one. And so I think it's just kind of like really dialing in the technique
Of
again
course.
with them, and
Okay.
then kind of building up just confidence and then trying to put them into workouts. Handstand push-ups, just my strict strength's a little bit weaker.
Right.
So it's just kind of like keeping working at them, and like strict pushing strength for me is another weakness of mine. So I'm just working at that.
Yeah. Um, be one of those as well where with working on strict handstand push-ups, that will obviously pass on to your dipping strength for your ring muscle ups as well. So that's yeah, that'll kind of was that yeah Passover, isn't there? Which is quite helpful. What was the other thing I was going to say? Because you like I feel like every time you've utilized like sending a video to us, you've done like next time I've seen you do that movement, whether it's been on like a story or anything else, uh,
Yeah,
you've done pretty well at like actually being able to put it into practice. Uh,
yeah,
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 your butterfly chest to bar pull-ups is definitely one that really stuck out in my mind to be like, I just made those few tweaks and you could see straight away they got much better
yeah,
quite quickly. But
yeah.
I
I think
think
it was those that were the first time I like posted on Circle, because I was just like I couldn't figure out how to not like stop just hitting my chest to the bar and like falling straight down. And I
yeah.
remember like you gave me a few really good pointers, and I just like put them into practice. I was like, oh, these are starting to click now.
But what I think your background of having that body awareness probably really helped too. Because to be able to
Yeah,
just be like, oh, like I'm gonna just change that and then be able to do that, I think that's
yeah. I do think like the gymnastics kind of background, not even just for like the gymnastics side of it, but like knowing how my body moves has been
Yeah.
like really helpful. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you one of those frustrating people that if you are given a skill, you can usually pick it up quite quickly or not?
I say yes, probably.
Yes.
There, it's not always the case, but it kind of like with sporty stuff, I've kind of like growing up, I've always been quite good at things. Like if I'd like started a new sport, I'd pick it up quite quickly. And so that's kind of like though made me be one of those people where I do something and it doesn't work out right away. I'm like,
Yeah.
what's happening? Like how do I do this here? Like golf, just can't seem to like figure out that at all. And I'm just like, I don't need to do it. Don't need
Yeah.
to do
Don't worry
that.
about it.
Yeah.
There was one other thing I wanted to come back to actually, which is again with you training really early in the morning. How so I understand from like a schedule and the reasoning why you do it, uh, but like how do you fuel for those morning sessions? So do you eat before you go into the
So
gym?
yeah, this
What
is
do
the
you?
struggle.
It's
This
a
is like
struggle.
yeah. So I always have like I wake up and I'll have kind of like something small, like a banana, maybe like a protein bar as well, but I won't be able to eat like a full
Meal.
meal beforehand.
Yeah.
So like I do notice like if it's a session where you have to like max out something, I'm doing it in the morning, like I won't always like hit a number that I think
Yeah.
I'd like want
Get
to
what you
hit.
mean.
Whereas like on the weekends I'll train at like 10
Mhm.
a.m. something, which is a much nicer time to train, can eat properly beforehand, and I do feel a lot stronger.
Yeah.
But then I just know I can't do that in the week, which is a shame, but it's just one of those things you have to live with.
Yeah, yeah, which is important to do, because as long as you know that and you have an understanding of the reasoning behind it as well, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
well, it's much easier to accept then, isn't it, as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
Although it's I try to not use it as an excuse and be like, oh, I
of
didn't have to
course.
hit that. Oh, it's just because it was early in the morning. If it was
Yeah, yeah,
another
yeah.
day, it would have been fine.
But as an example, so this week there was a max hand clean on the program. If it was if I were you and I was training early in the morning and I know that to get the most out of that hand clean, it's probably best not to do it on Wednesday morning, but
Yeah,
can I switch that session to a Saturday? I
yeah,
think that's like,
yeah,
just really simple things where it's like, right, do I really want to fill my boots on this hand clean this week? I'm just going to move it
yeah.
to, Saturday as an example because I know I'm going to feel better.
Better.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I do that sometimes, like switch around days, just like for what's going to work better as well. Um, which I
Which
think works
is super
better.
important to do. It's really important to do that. I think a lot of people are quite a lot of people are rigid in their approach. They're like, oh, I've got to do it in this order, and like because they've written it that way. And it's like, no, we write the program to give you structure, but that doesn't necessarily mean because of your lifestyle that that is the exact right order to do it in
Yeah,
for you.
yeah,
And having a bit of an understanding of that is important. Being flexible about that is important as well.
yeah, yeah. It's like Thursday's a rest day on the program, whereas
Yeah.
I can't really get to the gym on a Friday. So like
Okay.
I'll be like, Fridays are a rest day. We switch it around a bit and just
Yeah.
kind of like trying to be flexible with it, which is
Of
always
course.
good.
But
Yeah,
I think one other thing that I would probably do again if I were you is uh right my weaker areas if I'm like better or fresher on a Saturday and maybe on a Monday morning because it's the first I don't know working like it's the first
mm-hmm.
day of the week before I've done work is what is the thing that I really want to work on and get the most out of. For example, if it was ring muscle ups, I will
Yeah,
try and make sure that maybe I do it on, Monday morning and a bit on Saturday. So it's like, right, well, I know I'm going to be really fueled going into those sessions or more fueled than usual. So you can
mm-hmm.
just get a little bit more out of them too.
Yeah.
Um,
I remember when I first started the program, I was kind of a bit more rigid in it and I was following
yeah,
it like as it was, and it tended to be like that I'd miss, I think it was front squats or something, and I'd
yeah.
miss them out quite a lot. And I got to like 3 or 4 weeks in, and I was like, I've not front squatted in ages, and I was like, it was because I was following the days exactly, and I was like, okay, I need to switch this up a little bit.
But it's good. I guess what clicked for you to begin to have that flexible approach? Was it that, or was it, I
I
don't
think
know?
it was that, and just realizing I was like, oh, I'm missing out these bits, or there'd be days where I'd miss. I think it was a Friday as well, was like some strict upper body strength day kind of thing, and I
Yeah.
was like, ended up missing that. I was like, that's the bit I really need to work on.
Yeah.
I was like, I need to make sure I'm doing those days, so let's just move it around a bit.
Yeah. Good. Which is good.
Yeah.
High five to you.
Woo.
What kind of keeps you motivated? Is it the progress of training and seeing, you get better? Is it, I don't know, for the fun of it? What kind of keeps
Bit
you?
of both of those things, like the fun of it, like I just really enjoy training, like I find it really fun, like, but I think the progress bit as well is like a big factor. So like just seeing myself getting fitter, getting better at skills, getting stronger, and like I tend to film like bits of my training, and even if I don't post like all of it on my like Instagram or anything, I'll look back like at videos from a year ago and I'll be like, oh my gosh, I couldn't do that then, and I could do that now like quite easily. And I find that that's really a big motivator for me. Like
Oh.
that really helps me, and just like look back at it. I'm like, oh, look at me then struggling with that, and now here I am.
Do you have that time? There's an app called Time Hop, isn't there? Have you got it?
Oh yeah, no, I don't have that, but like I think that would be quite good. I sometimes look at like Instagram memories, when it does the
Yeah.
story and it says this time like 7 years ago. I'm like, oh,
This time, 13 years ago or 15 years ago when I was at uni doing daft stuff, and you're like, ah,
like,
if
ooh.
only I was training then, doing
Yeah,
CrossFit then, you're like, mm. But yeah,
yeah,
it
and
is
not
really good
eating
that.
around like loads of calories after a night out as well. Cheesy
Uh,
floor.
those are the days.
Yeah,
Yeah, but that again, unless some people, because they wouldn't be prompted by like time hop, or maybe wouldn't see the memories, would probably soon forget where they've come from as well. Because I know
yeah,
for a few of my individual clients, like if they get a bit down, I'm like, well, like where were you 6 months ago? Like you couldn't
yeah,
string, together three ring muscle ups, and now you're doing five as an example. You know what I
yeah,
mean? So
yeah. I do think that is because it was when I was doing the seedings for Rainhill this time. One of the ones had like it was like wall balls and then pull ups and chest to bars and then muscle ups. And I completed it, but I was a bit like, oh, I feel like I didn't do that very well. Like I feel like I fatigued earlier than I expected, didn't do it as quickly. And then I was like, actually, hold up. This time last year, you wouldn't have been able to finish this. So I was like, just take a moment and like think about this. So like it's quite easy to like let yourself get down or like compare yourself to other people online, but like I feel like I sometimes like catch myself doing that, and then I'm like, no, just have like a reality check
yeah,
and think about it just for yourself. So
yeah. Um, do you juggle any other hobbies alongside training and work and everything now? No,
um not really. I
no.
don't. I'm trying to think. uh
Just a- like for example, you did a bit of climbing before. I don't know. After work, you do a bit of bouldering, or I don't know. You might just go to the
don't do
cinema, go
any
out for food.
climbing. I do a bit of dancing, so I do that sometimes. Like,
Okay.
so I used to do like with the cheerleading, there's the dance part. So I do like go to dance classes sometimes,
Yeah.
do that, and then it's just kind of like trying to balance work and like work training and then social life as well. So
Yeah.
like, I like to go see my friends and like go for walks in the park and stuff like that. Not just walks in the park, also go to the pub, but like,
Of course. Of
I
course.
just like to try and balance it all in. So I
Yeah.
don't really have that much time for too many more hobbies.
I mean, if you're getting up at 5, you got to be at work for, I don't know, 8, 9 o'clock, and then you've got social, bits in the
Yeah.
evening. It's like, well,
And I like to be
the
in
day's
bed by
gone.
like 9:30 if I'm waking up at 5.
It's got to be done. It's got to
It
be
does,
done.
it does. Gotta have
I
the
mean,
sleep.
you're saying 9:30 as if that, that's super early. There's Esther, who I program for. She goes to bed at like half 8, her and her husband. Goes to
Oh
bed at
my.
half 8 and then wake up at half 4. I'm like,
If you're waking up at that time, you have to go to bed then, though.
yeah.
But I remember
But
I started training early and like I wasn't going to bed. at this time, like I just faff around in the evening and I'd go to bed at like 11. Then I'd wake up and be like, why am I so tired all the time? Like, because I'm getting 5 hours sleep. Yeah.
This all does, when I look at my day, this actually all does make sense now why I'm so tired all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Um, I guess just kind of final few words before we wrap this up. Like advice to people who are maybe just kind of uh starting off, doing CrossFit or maybe thinking about jumping on JST as well.
Yeah.
What would your words of advice be?
For starting out, I'd say like try not to get too overwhelmed with it. Like it will come over time and it might not be easy to start with, but it'll start clicking soon. And then like you'll start picking it up a little bit quicker. And then like for a program or like going on to JST, I'd say my biggest advice is actually just do it. Stop thinking about it and just do it because the more you think about it, you're gonna put yourself off from it. But like it's gonna benefit you so much. Like you're gonna see so many gains in like the first few months even. So just do it. That's my advice. Very Nike-esque.
I was going to say, is this a Nike? Are you
I've got
sponsored
the
by
gym. I don't even wear any Nike now.
Nike? I mean, like I say, the big things I've taken from you are like, just get on with it. You've been super consistent this last 18 months and you just kind of get on with it. I feel like my impression is you're not kind of a really high and low person. You just kind of, you just kind of crack on and
A
get on with
balanced
it. And
trajectory. Hopefully, it's going upwards.
well, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, but excited because we've also not actually met in person yet,
No, no.
as I'm aware. So I will see you at March Mayhem
Oh,
next week.
lovely. Well, I'll see you then.
So I'll be there to
Yeah,
help you out, which will be
great.
great. So
Yeah,
lovely
perfect.
to meet you in person.
Yes, exactly.
But yeah, thank you so much for your time, Nikki.
Thank you for having me as well. And sorry for being a bit rubbish with messaging back and being like, I can only do this time or this
Don't worry
time.
about it.
But
Don't worry
yeah,
about it. You've. I mean, with getting up at 5, going to the gym,
we'll do
being
it.
a being a consultant and then partying in the evening, so dancing, you know,
Yeah.
the days are gone.
But thank you. This was really nice and like really
Yeah.
fun. So yeah, I'll see you at March Mayhem.
See you more from it.
Yeah.
Thanks very
Right.
much.
Thanks. Bye.